I am so excited and honored to introduce to you one of the most wonderful human beings I've ever known. And along with that, he is a most excellent and gifted medium. Roland Comtois is a healer of hearts. I see Stephanie out there, and she knows this personally. He has a heart of gold himself. When my son Danny first crossed over in July of 2008, Roland brought enormous comfort to every member of my family. If you're not familiar yet with Roland's work, then you may not yet know about his amazing purple papers. Roland sometimes receives messages for people years before he even meets them. And I have seen him come to his big group readings with stacks of purple papers in his arms. And he'll somehow know when there's someone in the audience he's been waiting. He'll say, I've been holding this message for you since 2008. And they're always apropos, and they always are comforting. They're just amazing. When my son first passed, I managed to get a meeting with Roland, with my husband, son and daughter, and another couple were with us. And Roland, on a big piece of purple paper, had a picture of a box with a watch and some coins. And he gave it to my son, and he said, your brother wants you to find this. And the next day when Aaron went into his office, to his office, on his desk, some of my husband's workmen had taken the last few things out of Dan's apartment. And on his desk, there was a box. And Aaron opened it, and inside the box was Daniel's watch and coins that Aaron had collected when he went around the world after he graduated college and gave to his younger brother. And here Roland's drawing had the box with the watch and the coins. So he's able to bring through such incredibly evidential messages, and it is so comforting. And he does this so from his heart. You'll rarely see a medium even break down and cry sometimes, because they so feel the love that's coming across. He can't bear it. So I have a stack of purple papers that I treasure. And I have to say that my love and gratitude to Roland is evergreen. And it's with all due respect and love that I introduce you to my friend, Roland Comtois.
Oh, thank you, Sheri. Thank you so much, Sheri. That was love. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for inviting me and saying yes to this request. And to all of you that are here tonight, I'm incredibly honored to have this experience with you. My mother used to think I was a little crazy. You know, she'd say to me, Roland, you need to adjust your medicines. And I'd say, Mom, I don't think there's anything wrong. I feel this incredible energy. I see Meme standing there. I feel the presence of things. And she'd say, no, Roland, still, you've got problems. And I'd say, Mom, I don't have problems. And she'd say, yes, you do. And she'd be very firm about it. And I'd say, Mom, I see Meme standing there. I feel her presence. I know she's with you. I know that she's with you, Mom. And I would say to my mom all these messages and all these stories that I was feeling. It wasn't until my mother was dying that she came in. I came into the room and I looked at her and I said, Mom, are you all right? And I got as close to her as I possibly could, because she lost the strength to speak. And she could no longer say the things she needed to say. And I walked up to her and I put my ear near her mouth and she said, hey, Roland, you're not a nut, she said. And she began to tell me the story of what happened to her the night before. She told me the people that I had been talking about for 50 years were greeting her. A woman that never spoke this language all of a sudden is saying the story of the afterlife and telling me about my grandmother and all of the people that she was experiencing. And she took me back. My mother took me back to when I was a little boy. She said, you know, when you were 5 and 6 years old, you would follow things around the house, she'd say. And I guess you were right. And she'd say, when you were 17 years old, you'd call your friends and you'd say to your friends, I have some messages. And she'd say, maybe you were right. At the end of my mother's life, she came to some understanding that love is everlasting, that the connection between us is so real, so palpable, that in this one moment of time, They do everything they can to send us signs and messages. You know, look, Sheri mentioned the purple papers. Let me get the stack. This is the stack.
Oh gosh.
Every one of these papers has a name, a first name, a last name, a story. All of these are going to be leaving me very soon. All of these going to the families that have been waiting for them. We found each other. But let me say something to you. When I was asked to be here, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what we were going to do. But there was this amazing wave of energy in preparation for it. I felt such incredible energy for you, for me, for all of us as we join together here. But I know with absolute certainty that you don't really need me. I'm honored to be here, more than I can tell you, more than I can say to you. But I don't think you need me, because I think the medium is simply the guy in the middle, the person in the middle, who offers someone a moment of hope, a moment to breathe. Look, Khalil Gibran says it best. He said here, there are some mysteries which the soul cannot guess or no hypothesis can reveal. How is it that a guy, or you out there, because you're all connected in mediums as well, how does this happen? It happens because love is the most extraordinary communicator that exists. And my mother made that discovery as she was saying goodbye to her family, as she was letting go of all those years of pain. She looked at me and said, "You're not a nut." And then I held her, and she began her journey beyond. See, I happen to believe that her voice, her love, her spirit, her essence, her truth, her everything is still part of me. So wouldn't that mean that your people are still part of you? That through this mysterious and unbelievable and extraordinary connection, that a message is left, that a sign is left, that a dream happens, a song plays on the radio, and all of a sudden you say to yourself, it brings you right back to someone. I remember being on the road, and I was at some restaurant, and one of my mother's favorite songs came over the radio, and in my imagination, I saw her dancing to the platters and dancing away, and I knew somehow, and even if it was my imagination that was the gateway to that moment, it opened the door to something extraordinary. A moment where I could smile, a moment that I could feel some peace through my grief, because that's what a medium does. You're simply the guy in the middle, the person in the middle, offering a moment to hope. Hey, can I tell you something? I have been channeling messages for 50 years. I'm sorry I didn't take any training. I didn't go to school. I saw my grandmother walking through my bedroom when I was 10 years old, and it began this amazing journey that I feel blessed to be on, an amazing journey that every single day takes my breath away. That's the power of this communication. And when a purple paper makes it to its rightful owner, or when someone gets a message and they feel better, or when you discover the message yourself, oh my God, you change. The afterlife, and by the way, I had a near-death experience and died 30 years ago. I know what it looks like there. I know what it feels like. I know what it is. I just know it. And I know that each and every one of us has the opportunity to access that information, to access that energy, to access that love, because in all these years, the afterlife has never said to me, be depressed. It never once said be depressed. It never once said to me, don't go to work. It never said it. I've never heard that. Look, paper after paper, message after message that says I love you, that I forgive you, that I'm with you, that I'm leaving you signs from Jim and Big Jim and Catherine, and it goes on and on and on. But they've never said to me, in the way I hear them and feel them, they've never said to me, look, well, since I'm gone, why don't you stop living? Well, that happens. We stop living sometimes when someone passes, no matter who or what you believe. We go through those experiences, but when that medium or when that spiritual communication occurs, or when that message comes, oh my God, it makes me emotional thinking about it. It makes me so emotional thinking about it. I remember once I was doing a pilot TV show, and the director said, "Are you going to stop crying and give the message?" And I said, "But I can't. I feel the love." I mean, all of you that are mediums here and channelers here, you feel the love. It's palpable, it's tangible, and it's real. And that love is the communicator. Now, some religions say no, some religions say yes. Some scientists say yes, some scientists say no. I made this decision based on what I feel, on the experiences I've had for 50 years, the experiences that have alerted my understanding that there's something else, that there's something more. And if we can get to one spot, one moment of time, in one brief second, a message will come. I got to tell you a little story. I did a presentation in Connecticut once, and there was a woman in the room, and she was beyond words. She was broken in pieces and in ways that I had never seen before. And I've seen a lot of broken-hearted souls. And I walked up to her and I put my hand on her shoulder and I said, "Your father wants me to talk to you about the little girl, about the baby." And this whole story started to come out, and this woman cried a sound I had never heard before. Never. And I stopped the audience. I stopped everybody. We took in that moment. We all took in that moment together. And then someone in the audience walked over to that young woman who was barely 25 years old. And she took that girl in her arms. She took that girl in her arms and said, "I'll be your father right now." And the message continued. And it continued to inspire her. I heard from her. I heard from her years later. She told me that the reason why the message was so significant is that she was driving her car to North Carolina to visit her father, to introduce the baby girl. To introduce the baby girl to the dad. Well, the dad died while she was in transit. And so when she received that message, it gave her something. It gave her a moment to catch her breath. That's what this is about, you know. I'm a nurse. I've worked as a nurse for decades. I have taken care of my patients. I've walked into rooms when I've known they were getting ready to go, and I put my stethoscope to their heart and I can hear the change. And that even as they're leaving, I feel the transition from this physical plane to what exists beyond here. Now, I wish I could tell you what exists beyond here. I can only demonstrate it through my experiences. I can only shower you with the love that I feel from that space. I can only stand by your side. Oh, that's what this is about. A guy like me, all I can do is stand by your side, shoulder to shoulder, and say, "This is what I hear. You can receive it, or you can leave it if it's better for you. But it's to do what is best for you." So I am, by the way, if you don't know this yet, I'm a little long-winded. I can talk. I got a lot to share with you, and I'm very happy to spend this time with you. And I'm so honored, Wendy, that you said yes, and Sheri, you made the connection, and that all of you are here. I feel very fortunate to have this experience. But in the truth of what I understand, at least from my perspective, is that each and every one of us here, a message is waiting inside. A message is waiting here. And if we widen our perspective, if we widen our view, oh my God, then the entire universe wants to speak to you. Look, if I'm part of the universe, then maybe your family's a part of the universe. If my mother is part of something extraordinary, then maybe you are part, maybe they are part of something extraordinary. Look, the butterfly had no idea. I'm sorry, the caterpillar had no idea it was going to be a butterfly, had no idea. But something magical happened. Something extraordinary happened. And it found its next transition. It found its next journey, its next life. So I spend my days and my weeks and my months and my years telling the people that I meet that love is everlasting. And all of this, every one of these, every one of them, these go back to 2005. I'm still waiting for the Walcott family. And recently, I just found the family of this little baby who died on that day, Lily. That's when I wrote this message, August 7th, 2012. I just found her family. And then I found this lady. She found me, her son, Tobias. She's from Norway. She's going to get a purple paper delivered to her. So is it possible? Is it real? Could someone stretch through that space to give you hope and inspiration? Could someone that you love shower you with all of this energy to give you hope and inspiration and encouragement? Because every message I've ever heard is about hope and encouragement and inspiration. And maybe Khalil Gibran's quote about the mysteries of the world, the mysteries of the soul, which no hypothesis or guess can reveal, maybe we really are discovering something, that we are a part of them and they are a part of us, and so forth and so on, creating this interconnectedness of love and energy that exists here in this moment. I bet you're feeling it now. I bet you're feeling it now. I bet you're feeling the connection between you and your people now. And I bet that somehow they're reaching through that space to communicate with you. The Tibetan Book of the Dead says that beyond one such universe lies another and another and another and another, and so on and so on and so on. The Bible says love endures. So could it be that there are people who are able to do it more readily, maybe? But I think, as I said from the beginning, no one needs a medium. I've told every audience I've ever spoken in front of that I'm honored to be there. But in fact, the connection that exists in you. And what a guy like me does, and those of you that do this work, you know, all we do is help to open the channel a little bit so that we can have a moment of absolute peace. Because there is something more. When the matter of this falls apart, when this fails, something beautiful remains. Something extraordinary remains. It's the soul of your loved ones, your mothers and your fathers, your kids, your daughters, your sons, your friends. That something remains. And when that something remains, when something exists, then we have access to that energy, and we have access to it in the most extraordinary way. Do you know what I get asked the most is, do my loved ones know I think of them? Yes, they do. They do know. They are part of you. They're part of that evolution, the evolution of love. So they do know. And believe it or not, mediumship is part of our natural energy. It's part of our natural way of being. We're all sentient beings. We all feel energy. We all articulate that energy in a much different way. I don't know if there's any other people writing messages on purple papers. I don't know. But we all feel things and we all experience things in a normal and natural way. I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing, actually, that we have the opportunity to touch the breath of spirit through the experience of mediumship. I think there's something amazing that we can do here together. Together, we can do it. We can touch that space with our heart and our souls and know somehow that one little moment of peace gives us encouragement to move on and to move forward. Now, I don't know what time it is. I don't know how long I'm supposed to talk. As you know, I can go on and on and on. I have so much I want to share with you because I feel so inspired by the experience of mediumship. When my grandmother stood there, I knew that there was something more. I was a 10-year-old kid. The only thing I knew was that I trusted my grandmother. And all these years later, it's one experience after another and another and another. The purple papers, they started in 2005. I started to hear so many voices. Maybe my mother was right. I was hearing voices. I was feeling energy. I was seeing images in my mind that I couldn't figure out what they were. And now I had been getting messages my whole life. And as a nurse, I would gather my staff for a morning medium meeting to inspire them to do the best work they could do. I did those things because I know that if we stay connected, we can do something extraordinary. We can do something amazing. The purple papers, I just couldn't contain those voices anymore. Tobias, who wants to say something, and Lily and Susie, who was sick and the daughter needed to know, and Mom, it's me, Jen, go by the tree and plant trees. George in the hospital and the trip, and when Irish eyes are smiling, and Big Jim and Katie with the most beautiful red hair, and John who wants to talk to his sister. It goes on and on and on. All those voices, and Natalie, and all those voices, I couldn't contain them anymore. You know what I really couldn't contain? Is the love. I couldn't contain it. It was my only way to be of service. It's the only way I know how to be of service, is to take that energy that I feel in here, that I sense all around me, and give it a place. Give it a place. For those of you that are interested in science, I keep track of every name I've ever written. I know when those papers get delivered. I know their names, last names. I'm looking for a lot of families. And when they find me or I find them, something will happen. First and last names, stories of the afterlife, connections that remain. That's what this is. That's what I do. And that's what I share. But I know, oh wow, the whole room is full of light right now. Don't you see how this all works? I'm sure you meet every week. You must. I'm certainly not the first medium you've ever talked to. I know that. I follow Wendy and Victor. But the whole room is full of light. So wherever you're sitting, whatever country you're in right now, maybe the people that you love, Stephanie, Natalie, maybe the little girl you love is there. So the medium is a communicator, a messenger, someone who wants to bring a little bit of peace to a broken heart. It's not about guessing. It's not about guessing. It's about sharing the stories that exist inside. Look, we live in a physical world. We got to do the best we can living in our physical world. And as we live in that space, we have access to everything. That's my story. That's my story. That's what I wanted to share with you. I don't know how long I should be, what should I do next, Wendy? You can direct me and guide me.
Roland, I think we've got a couple of people. We'll just give you a little bit of a break so you can have a little bit of a drink.
Thanks.
And then we'll come back and we'll talk about your book. But I'd like to hear from some of the people who have had readings with Roland. Judy has said that she has had a lot of peace. I wonder if Judy would like to share her experiences with Roland. Judy, are you there? Can you unmute yourself?
Here.
Can you tell us what you were going to say about Roland?
He's wonderful. I saw Roland with 2 members of my family in December in Connecticut first. And even just that first meeting, it was we loved him from the beginning. We knew that Roland could help us. We all had different losses in our life. For me, it was my son. I still get a little bit emotional, but we met him in December. We went to an event, and it was beautiful there. And then I've had a private reading, which brought me more peace and brought me closer to my son. I can feel my son always here with me. And my son recently had an event this past Friday, and he still can't get over how wonderful it was, and just the feeling that brought him to his brother. And it's just been utterly incredible. He's wonderful. I thank God for him coming into my life.
First saw Roland about 5 years ago with my husband. It was a year after I lost my daughter and my mom. And he actually brought through my father-in-law and my daughter. And I've been following him ever since, and he's wonderful. I can never express my gratitude to Roland, and he's brought so much peace, and I never thought I would find peace after I lost my daughter. I didn't think it was possible. And when I have a day now where I am very nervous and uptight and not feeling peaceful at all, I will watch Roland, in a prior event, and I calm down. I just have so much gratitude for him.
My name is Sheri. My daughter's thing is coming up here on the thing. You just spoke with my Aunt Judy, who I went to the reading with in December. At that time, my daughter came through. We had just lost her in October. And Roland was dead on. He brought me much comfort and peace then. I had one of the Zoom meetings with him shortly after that, and I got a purple paper from my red-haired girl. My daughter went on a week afterwards. That's it, Roland. My daughter went on a week afterwards, and my daughter got a message from her sister Kate that said that she was her best friend, and don't tell Mom because she's going to be jealous. And it was true, though. It was very true. So Roland is the real deal. I've been to other psychics. I've been to mediums. Roland is for real. Roland knows and is in touch with and brings peace to those of us that need it.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Roland, can you tell us a little bit about your book?
My most recent book is called Signs of Spirit. It's about the purple papers. It's about 45 stories of people who have now received their purple papers, and they tell the story of their loved ones there. My voice disappears completely except for chapter 1. And then you hear the story of the people who want to share their purple paper experience, and they want to share who their loved one was. And that book has been out for about 6 months. It was published by Llewellyn Worldwide. And it's a storybook, really, of love that is everlasting. That's what that book is about. Thank you, Wendy, for asking.
Sure. My son, I wouldn't say celebrity, but he was a professional, comedian. And we go by his stage name, not
Oh.
our real given last name that's on our driver's license. And so how would you, I know he comes through to mediums as Wolf,
Sure.
but he doesn't use his real name that's on his death certificate.
Yeah.
Yes, so
Most of the time, these purple papers, 99% of the time, are their birth name. Most of the time, there's an occasional moment where it has a nickname. In the old days, there were no names at all. I've transitioned into hearing the names and their stories more clearly now. And so now it would be most likely a first name or a last name or circumstances that dealt with his life or how he passed or who he was in his life. So it just depends. But mostly I hear birth names. Often people ask me about nicknames. The other day I did get one that said Pops. They used to call this guy Pops, and that was really one of the first times I've had that kind of experience. So for me, it's generally first names or last names, that kind of thing, really. And that's how the messages come to me. But
Okay.
again, as you said, everybody does it differently. So we all have our own way of hearing whatever we need to hear in delivering the message that needs to be delivered.
Hi, Roland. I listen every Wednesday, 11:11, without fail. And I'm just wondering, how does anyone know if they have a paper in that great big stack that you have?
That's a good question. That's a great question. That is a great question. I'll tell you that I post as many purple papers as I can online on my Facebook page. I post them religiously. I post them on my website as well. And that would be the only way that you see them. So on like you just mentioned, on Wednesdays, I showcase them for the people that are following me. I post them on my page, and then I share them. I share as many as I possibly can. Now, this list that lists everybody's name, this is not public yet, but I'm working about how to make that public. I'm not sure, because I know that there are a lot more papers that I could be delivering if I maybe had a better system at delivering it. But I go with my gut. Let me just share one other thing with you, Lisa, because you bring up an interesting point. If someone on my Facebook page finds a paper that resonates with them, my assistant will organize a free conversation between us so that we can, and I can deliver that paper, and so I don't know if there's any easy answer other than I put out as many as I possibly can.
Roland, is it possible for you to tell us about your NDE?
Yes, I'd love to share that with you. Thank you for asking, Christina. I was doing a small event. There were maybe 20 people there, and I was beginning to give messages. And then within minutes of starting, I collapsed. I collapsed down to the table, then to the floor. I was barely out, but I collapsed. I was gone. At least that's what my cousin says, because she was there searching for my pulse, and she was trying to get my pulse, and she said my skin was as cold as our deceased grandfather some years before. And as she was doing that, I saw that light that you hear other people refer to. I saw that light, and I found myself migrating towards that light. It was like I just couldn't do anything but follow that light. And as I followed that light, I felt as if I was ascending up. I could hear sounds, I could hear music, I heard songs, I smelled flowers. As I was crossing the threshold between physical life and death, I had all these amazing and extraordinary experiences. And then when I was finally there, I could see my meme, my grandmother Isabel, who had been gone for many years, waving to me. I saw people that I had remembered in life, you know. Because of that experience, I've written a play, I've written music about it, I sing songs about it, because it was such a life-changing moment, really, to really feel and connect to that energy. Now, interestingly enough, I went to the doctors. The doctor said there's nothing wrong with you. Like my mother, the doctor also thought I was a little nutty. You know, because he couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, because there was nothing wrong with me. I had a near-death experience. I saw the other side. I saw what exists there. I felt, oh my God. You know, Sheri talks about the love. I felt the most profound love I have ever felt in my life. You know, it's like that feeling when you hug your kid, or that sense of completion in that moment. That's what it felt like. It was so extraordinary. And that's what happened. It was such an amazing experience for me. Thank you, Christina, for asking about that. I mean, I could go on and on and on with it, but that's the gist of the story.
Thank you, Roland.
Some of it was answered. I believe you do Zoom.
Yes.
And yes, you do. So you have a website we could connect with you then?
Yes, you do have, you can go to blessingsbyroland.com. You can see the events there. Obviously, now that we're all in the situations we are, there are very limited opportunities. But I will tell you this, that when I do the Zoom event, I limit it to 25 people or less, because I want you to get something out of the experience. I want you, you know, maybe that's my ego speaking, but I want you to get as much as you can from the experience. So I limit the audiences, Q&A at the end.
Hi, Roland. Thank you so much for sharing your gift with us.
Oh,
I just wanted to ask, do you picture spirit as they're giving you messages for your purple papers?
Do I picture them, did you say?
Yeah, like do you see them and like, and I'm also curious about the age, because, you know, some people say, oh, they're this age or they're that age. And do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's a great question, Shannon. Thank you so much for asking it. Yes, you know, there have been times where I have seen, I remember driving up to do a private session. In the old days, I went house to house doing private sessions. And I was driving up the driveway, and there was this man in my rearview mirror with the biggest glasses and the biggest energy. And I stopped the car and looked, because I thought somebody was in my car. And the second I was invited in this house, there was the picture of the man who I had seen there in my car. I mean, so I saw him. There are moments when I see them, there are ways that I describe them to certain people. I talk about their mannerisms and their presence, and that's how I see it. It's very powerful. You know, when you see them, you'll never forget it, whether that's in a dream or a moment like that. It's extraordinary. The second part of your question, I just forgot. I see love is how I see it. I don't, sure, people have said to me, is my baby still a baby? Is my father still 85? What I see and what I recognize during the channeling experience is the essence of love. And as I said already, I think the love is the communicator. I did a session somewhere in New York or Pennsylvania, I don't remember where it was anymore. And there was a little old lady in the front row, and she was, oh, she wanted a message. She was something like 85 or 90, no, she was 90 years old, sitting there praying for a message. And I walked up to her and I said, your mother wants to talk to you. And she says, no, I don't want to talk to her, but it's all I had. So it's what I felt. So I had to stand true in what I felt. And I said, well, here's what I need to say. And so I offered her whatever it was. Several months later, the little old lady with the blue knitted hat and the same crocheted outfit sat in another room, and I came up to her and I said, your dad wants to talk to you. And she said, I don't want to talk to my father. And I said, okay. And I proceeded to carry on. And then finally, a year later, now for those of you that follow me, you've heard the story before, because this lady has impacted and influenced my life in the most extraordinary way. There she was again, the little old lady with the blue dress and the white knitted cap, whatever she had, sitting in the front row praying for a sign or a message. And I walked up to her and I said, your brother wants to talk to you. And she looked right at me and she said, it's about time. She said, I've been waiting to hear from him for 85 years. He died when she was 5 years old. And she had waited her whole life for that one moment to feel her brother. She felt her brother as a child. She felt that connection, and it was extraordinary for her. It was extraordinary for her. Now, about a year later, the little old lady with the blue dress and the white knitted hat died. That lady changed my life. She changed me. She taught me how to widen my perspective and not lose faith or not lose courage in the communications that exist between us. Thanks, Shannon. Thank you for letting me tell that whole story. Okay, thanks for asking. My website is blessingsbyroland.com, and the Facebook page is facebook.com/blessingsbyroland. And you'll see you'll see all the purple papers there and all the other things that are happening. I go live multiple times a week to stay connected with people. Oh, thank you for putting it in there, somebody. And and so those are the places really to make the connection.
Hi, Roland. Fascinating talk. And I have to say, the love pouring out of you travels right over the internet. I mean,
man.
It is palpable, my friend. So thank you. I'm almost in tears. I'm almost in tears because of it. So, and not many people have done that to me, even in person. So, but my question is, after your NDE, did you find that your mediumship increased?
Absolutely, without a doubt. It changed. Again, yes. I always go back to saying it widened my perspective or my viewpoint. It changed how I experienced the message, really. Because, you've got to believe, or you have to get this part of it. Every time I've written one of these papers, I've learned something about myself. I've grown a little bit more. I get to receive all that energy that everybody is trying to send. So yes, it has changed after that, Gary. It totally did. Thank you for that question. It's a good question.
Thank you.
Thanks,
big hug to you, my friend.
Oh man, right back at you. I accept. Thank you.
So my question is, I received a purple paper in January in Rhode Island. It was a beautiful event, a small venue. And Roland, you channeled my son.
Oh.
His mannerisms, just his stance, the way that he communicates, well, he would, in the physical, you completely embodied him. Oh. And it was healing for me. And in the message, it was I thought the message was for his dad. But during that event, you told me it was really intended for me and not to share it. But yet his dad he's just in despair. He's so fragile and broken because Chase died by suicide 6 years ago, just about 3 days ago, the anniversary. So now I don't know how to help him. I'm not to share this, and he is not one to seek mediumship as I have. My faith is different.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being open at that event to receive. I appreciate that very much. Honestly, I don't mean to keep saying water down the experience of love, but I think it matters here as well, that maybe your husband just needs that support, that extra little support that you can give him. And maybe you'll come to some discovery when that message has to be shown to him. Maybe he's not prepared for that, but he certainly may be prepared to share what he needs to say. So thank you so much for sharing that with me. I really appreciate it.
I thank you. You are a blessing to us all.
Stanley says, is there any significance in the color of the paper you write the messages on, please?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I get that question a lot, and the answer is not that dramatic. I'm sorry. I heard in my head, write on purple paper. That's how it started, I wanted to be more something, but that's what it was. It was that one moment where I said, go get 11 by 17 purple paper and start writing. It used to be this color. Now it's this color because the printers ran out of the lighter color purple. And so I heard that message. I followed through, Stanley. And then now I realize, obviously after all these years, that the color really is a spiritual color. If we think about purple, it's about evolution. It's about the seeing the bigger picture of one's life experience, seeing all that we can see. So when you think about purple, it really is an invitation to experience more. And so that's why the purple came about. Thanks, Stanley. That's a great question. I appreciate it. Thank you.
My question is, it seems we need an element of trust. How big, I know it's big, but can you explain that? We need to trust you. We need to trust what we hear on our own, and where do we go with it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking it. I didn't mean to jump while you were talking, but this huge lightning bolt went across my window and the thunder roared like crazy. So
my questions are all like that. My questions are all like that. They make everybody.
So if you're in the Connecticut area, good luck. It just roared through the whole house. So it's a great question because, you know, trust is an experience of building. You know, I spent my whole life building trust that what I was hearing was real, despite people calling me names, despite naysayers. I had to really own the experience of trust. Trust comes after having many moments or many messages and really believing that that message that exists is real. It's real not because someone like me says it's real. It's real because when you hear it, you see it, you feel it, or you experience it, you change. That begins to build the trust. So, you know, when I'm standing in front of 800 people or 5 people, I still go inside here and I say, my God, I hope I do a good job. You know, like my ego gets in the way, let's face it. I'm human. It gets there and it gets in the way. And I'm thinking, I just got to tell the story I hear. And then I walk out there and trust that those things that I was hearing and feeling and experiencing were things that were real. They're real. It's not truth because I said it. It's truth because you had a reaction or your own personal something happened at that particular moment. So trust comes from having multiple experiences, building your confidence with each one of them, and trust and connecting in those moments. And that's the best answer I have in the amount of time I think that we have. Let me just say one other thing though. I do want to say one other thing because you opened up everything by asking about trust. Trust comes when we sit in silence with the message. You know, trust isn't noisy, it's silent, it's fulfilling, it's beautiful, it's there. That's what trust is, right? When a message comes from our loved ones, it does this. That's what a message from a loved one does. And then us as humans, we start, oh, whoa, wait, Ma, is that really you? You know, you start asking and you start thinking and you start negotiating. But the very first second a message comes, it's breathless. Powerful, it's fulfilling, it fills every cell, and it reminds every aspect of your being that you are loved in that moment. I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you very much. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Marian, for asking.
I feel that your message is a message to all of the parents who have lost a child, all of us who have lost somebody. Do you have some final thoughts for those people who have not perhaps received a message, or people who have received a message but then say, well, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? How can I continue to live?
Here's what I'd say. First of all, I'd say don't give up. Don't give up on them. Don't give up on the love that you experienced in your lives together. Don't give up on that. And I would keep my mind, my heart, my soul, my spirit as open as possible. And look for ways to have those conversations. So before you go to bed tonight, get nice and quiet. Bring into your presence the most joyful moment you had with someone. Bring that into your presence. And let that guide you into your dream state. Let your children, your family, your friends guide you. Because as I said from the beginning, I think they want us to know they're with us. I think they want us to know that they're okay. I think they want us to know. Oh, wow. I think they want us to know that they live on. And we have to do everything in our power to live on with them through this process, through this experience. I said from the beginning, I don't think you need a medium. I don't. If you quiet it down just a bit, if you just eased up the stress a little bit, I think you'd find the voice of your loved one inside. I'm grateful to be on the journey. It takes my breath away that this is my life. But I know that in you is where they are. Here is where they are. And that is what I have to share with you. Thanks, Wendy. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Roland. That was absolutely wonderful. I'm going to call on Sheri now to wrap up the session and to thank Roland on our behalf.
Well, Roland, as always, you brought through the love that's in your heart. And I know you'd read for everybody here if you could. I want to thank you on behalf of everyone, because we've all lost someone. And your work is extraordinary. And I hope that you go on for many, many years doing just what you've done for me and so many of the women I know who I've introduced to you, the moms whose lives were healed by your work. You are a gift, and we all thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sheri. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland.
Thank you, Roland.
That's all to all of you.